If you've watched any guitar YouTube, you'll eventually come across people who say something, something, something doesn't matter, or this and this and this doesn't matter. To the point where enough people have said it about enough things, nothing matters. And I'm going to join in that and say baritone gauge strings are bullshit. This is a Squier Paranormal Cabronita Baritone. Big long name just to say it's a Tele with P90s and a 27-inch scale length. One of the shortest, if not the shortest, scale baritone you can buy. When I bought it, it was strung up with 13 to 64 gauge strings, and they had tuned it up to C. Now, I play this guitar in E using these strings, a 9.5 to 44 gauge. I use this on my E guitar, as well as my Midwest Emo guitar, tuned FAC CGE. It's 24 3/4 inch scale length, 9.5 44. How do I get that feeling, or something similar, on a baritone? If you haven't noticed, these are Stringjoy strings. All of them say custom gauge on them, because Stringjoy has this thing called the tension calculator. Don't think of guitars scientifically. What matters is how it feels to you. Everything is individual. Keep that in mind as I talk. But for me, I want to feel like I'm playing 9.5 to 44, or even a 10 to 46, a standard gauge on this scale length, fourth down to B. So what I have on here now is a 12 to 58. And I'm going down to 12 to 56. I came to that conclusion using these Stringjoy tension calculator thingamabobs. Tension calculations. Yes, that makes more sense than thingamabobs. It turns out that a 56 on a 25.5 inch scale in C is the same tension as a 27 inch in B. If you've seen my face more than once, twice even, that means your algorithm likes me for something. And it would be nice if you could hit subscribe and let the algorithm know you want to call it daddy. That's so stupid. But why are baritone strings a thing at all? That's what I asked myself. If you compared a 10 to 46 gauge, the tension on that, which is reasonably comfortable for most people, that's why it's called regular gauge. You take the standard gauge for baritone strings, which is a 14 to 68, and apply it to even this shorter scale baritone, and the tension is so much higher. Here's the other thing. Thinner strings have less bass, or they're plinkier. That's a thin string sound. And to my mind, on a baritone, it already doesn't quite sound like a regular guitar. So why do you want it to sound more like a bass? I mean, it's a unique sounding instrument for sure. I kind of want it to feel and sound like every other guitar. A 14 to 68 tuned to B, I would not use that on a baritone. I would use that on a regular scale length or a shorter scale length guitar. I want the thinner strings. If you don't want thinner strings, thanks for watching. pitfalls of heavier strings is the actual physical thickness underneath your fingers can be much harder to play specific styles. This doesn't matter if the genre or the style you're playing in doesn't really give you the old boomer bends or anything sort of pretty or delicate. If you are just hitting the goddamn thing, it's probably good for you. I don't do that though. I typically use it for more ambient type things, or just really fuzzed out rock riffs. Pitfalls of thinner strings, though, is it does feel easier to play, but it is much easier to play out of tune. So this isn't something I would recommend for someone who's just starting out or who's really heavy-handed, which is completely fine, by the way. I was for years. But if you're to the point where you can whisper on a guitar and play chords in tune without, if you can do that, consider using thinner strings on baritones. If you're curious about a baritone, or if you have a baritone and you aren't particularly comfortable on it, it might be worth trying to use something, Stringjoy's tension calculator, or just trying for yourself and seeing if lighter gauge strings or even heavier gauge strings are what you need to feel comfortable on your guitar. Because that is actually the only thing that really, really matters. If you aren't comfortable on one of these, whatever they are, then you're not going to pick it up and you're not going to play it. And that's a damn shame. Because the point of these is to want to pick them up, to want to play them, to make something.